Greetings out there in the middle of nowhere. We are waiting for Greg to show up. I'm getting everything logged in. Sorry for the slow start. Okay. And there we go. All right, let's get that dashboard up. Gonna warn everybody, you're probably gonna hear Harley a lot in the background. I'm taking care of her right now while my sister is at a festival. And so she has been very well. Rachel's been gone for about 5 days now, so Harley is starting to get into the acting up phase because she is a small child. And let's see. There's only one person watching now. Can that person say something in the chat? Do do do. All right. All right. All right. I'm gonna bring Greg on the Skype now.
Okay, let's see if we can. You can hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. I started broadcasting, so
Yeah, I
we're
saw.
we're making a little bit of a sketchy start of it. Okay. Let me see if anyone has actually responded in the chat. Okay. All right, we do have some viewers now. Can everybody hear me and can everyone hear Greg?
I am alive. I said I've got very low volume, but that may just be the fact that I've got a couple different things running at once.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there because you're coming in actually pretty loud through the headset, so I'm not sure how you're playing through the speakers.
Well, I was talking about the YouTube volume, but I mean even you're coming in quiet now through that, so
Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. Can you turn down the volume on your mic? You're apparently coming through really loud to the rest of the to the viewers.
okay. I've notched it down considerably. How that?
Okay. How is Greg now? Greg, say a couple of things.
No. What if I don't want to?
Haha!
It's just
I've
going to be a
lured
live
you
stream
out.
of me glaring silently.
Let me see. Maybe I can adjust it a little bit from my end. There we go. All right. Say something now.
All right. I'm really liking that 2018 is giving us two different Mega Man Robot Masters on the theme of Blast, and they are very different, like just all around. I quite like that.
Okay. All right, let's see if that works. This is always a trick because I never really know what's going to be coming in at what level where. All right, they think I got it fixed. All right. Okay, everybody, welcome to the show. I am, of course, your host, a werewolf, and
I am
Greg.
a Dracula.
Yes, we're getting into the Halloween mood early, apparently.
No, I'm just a Dracula at all times.
That's fair.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah, we got to get you one of them Dracula brooches.
Yeah. Mine hasn't come in from the union yet. Because of course the Draculas have a union.
Well,
Why
yeah,
wouldn't they
that.
have a union?
We're just stuck trying to get the FDA to approve lycanthrazine.
Hmm.
And let's see. New stuff. Greg, you got any announcements or things of that nature?
In roughly 6-ish hours, the new full riff will go ultra public, I guess.
Yeah, I figure
Like it's in patron preview right now, but at around 1 o'clock my time, it'll be open. So Monday morning you can wake up to some fresh riffness.
Mm-hmm.
You watch your Jim Sterling, you watch your Us.
Hold on a second. Harley, come on. Come on. I know you're acting out because Rachel's out of town. Growling at me while your tail's going.
Well, you're paying attention to something that's not her.
Yeah, she. Whenever Rachel goes on a vacation or something, I'm left watching Harley alone. She's like, she's okay for the first 2 days, but after that, she just gets increasingly bratty.
Hmm.
She's she does. This dog is actually sarcastic, and I know that people say that that's not supposed to be possible because the dog can't use language. But the dog understands some basic abstract thinking. I'd say she's probably about as smart as a 3-year-old, and picks up on words really well. It's what happens with small dogs when they start getting older. They start getting clever. And so she'd gotten into the trash, and I told her to go to her kennel, which is her basic punishment whenever she does something she's not supposed to do. Now, I had moved the kennel into my room because Rachel didn't want Harley to feel alone while she was gone. Now, it's not that Harley didn't know this, because Harley had been sleeping in that kennel all day. So I tell her to go to the kennel, and she walks past the kennel, out into the living room where her kennel normally is, goes and stands in the space that her kennel is normally placed in, and looks at me like, okay, I went here, what you gonna do?
You've changed something.
Oh, it's not that I changed something, because she does stuff like this all the time. Once Rachel told her to go to her kennel, she went over to the kennel and hopped on top of it, and laid down on the roof of it. And then she gives this look, which I don't know if she understands that it's like a, well, what are you going to do now kind of sassy thing, but it sure comes across that way. And she knows that that her Uncle Trent is a soft touch, so she just manipulates the hell out of me. Yeah, she knows that she can get treats and all kinds of things.
Dogs are good at wheedling treats.
Yeah, they figure out their strategies. Yeah, and I've had smart dogs and I've had really dumb dogs, and this one's one of the smarter ones. She just uses her powers for evil. And let's see.
Let's see. So yeah, we have a new riff coming. We have like all the footage for our next pixelated beasts. I don't think I want to reveal what game it is, but I think we got pretty much all the footage, save for like some incidental crap that might pop up.
Yeah, yeah. There's always the possibility that there's going to be something that's going to require a reshoot, or in my case, sometimes twice as much work using After Effects to avoid having to do a reshoot. Because my antique knees, I don't like getting under the table any more than I have to.
Yeah.
Um, and let's see. Aside from that, just a quick plug. If anybody's into Transformers, I'm selling a whole lot of them. You can check out my Tumblr, my Twitter, and my various other social media. We'll see if Greg, you think it'd be appropriate to send out an Isle Rangoon tweet about that and get
I
back
think
to it.
I think I did reblog that, or I think I retweeted that from the account. So
Okay, well, everybody can come find it in that location. Selling some good stuff, some old BotCon exclusives, some other rarities. I need to raise money quickly for various governmentally required reasons. And let's see, what else are we going to talk about today? Has there been any news and nerdery lately?
let's see. There's those Golden Axe figures, which they don't have the Centaur from the arcade exclusive game, so hard pass.
Oh, did they actually announce what was in that wave?
I don't think so, but if really, let's face it, if it's going to be more than just the first three, than the characters from the first three games, I will be shocked.
Yeah, my concern is that I've seen stuff by that manufacturer before. They
Who's the
may
manufacturer?
let's see, they have a really forgettable name.
Hmm,
They are Storm Collectibles.
never heard of them.
They do like high-end Street Fighter figures, near
Hmm.
as I can tell. 6-inch scale, look pretty good. Really makes me worried though that they're not gonna wind up making any of the Bizarrians if they're in
Hmm.
that scale.
The Rideable Beasts.
Yeah, the rideable beasts. Which I was trying to find out what the name of that weird two-legged chicken saurus with the axe tail was. And I went looking at the Genesis the Genesis manual, and the Genesis manual calls them Bizarrians, which I am
Well, that's a blanket name for all the Rideable
all the
Beasts.
rideable beasts. Yeah, that's the name for all the rideable beasts. I am so angry that I didn't come up with that name. That is such a beautifully toyetic name for a bunch of colorful beasts. It sounds like something that they would have come up with if they were trying to make a toy line around the time Golden Axe came out. But they didn't, and they just left that beautiful trademark molder in an old Sega Genesis manual for years.
You
Sad.
might want to try looking and seeing what the looking up the Japanese manuals.
Yeah, I could see if they have individual names and so
Those
forth.
those tend to be the Japanese manuals tend to be a lot more uh, exhaustive,
Yeah.
in
Trick
my
is,
experience.
I don't even have the ability to read hiragana and katakana like phonetically.
I let me. There is. You should be able to find. I've actually got an app on my phone now that can translate like through the camera. It's not
Oh,
great
okay.
because it's. I mean, it's Google Translate, so it's not great, but it's not. I mean, aside from Google Translate, it's also lightly buggy where it's clearly giving me stuff that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But you can typically get the gist of whatever it's saying.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the pictures. I did a little quick Google search. Let me see if I can find a good quality picture of the toys.
Throw
But
a couple of them up on the screen just for some variety.
yeah, hold on. Let's see. Just like all the pictures are really blurry and low res.
Probably because they were scanned, in like the late 90s and have never been rescanned.
Oh no, I'm talking about like the actual figures they're releasing upcoming. I found a
Okay. I thought you were doing. Okay.
yeah. Let me see. Or it may be a thing where they got the kibosh put on them. Okay, oh, Toy Arc's got something, so let me see if they got... Oh yeah, Toy Arc's got some promo stuff. Let's see. Hang on just a moment. Pop that up here.
I'm a bit concerned slash that we're coming up on Mega Man 11. You know, this is kind of a big thing. And we ain't heard shit about toys or merch from it, as near as I can tell. Most of the Mega Man merch we've seen is more, hey, look, here's some stuff from the first game. Oh boy, you know, the one that isn't, you know, the revolutionary game that everybody remembers. Also, it's just stand-up pixel art. You know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
kind of stuff you can buy from 13 different 13 different
Yes.
people at any given con with nerd stuff at it.
Or just go on the whatchamacallit. Uh, I want to say Pinterest, but that's not right. Why am I blanking on the name of this thing where everybody sells their homemade stuff?
There's a Etsy.
Etsy, that's why, because it's a dumb name. All right. Yeah, here's what we're looking at. Their first wave is obviously Death Adder and the heroes.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Which,
disturbing. Like, there's something about that axe battler that just makes him look odd, even for
off.
like a really like a muscly type character. Because I mean,
I, yeah.
it's like he's too cut. I think.
Well, the ab thing is not help. The ab joint is not helping there.
No, the ab joint's not helping. I think they may also be pulling a lot from the Boris style art for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been like huge on Boris as a fantasy artist. His stuff's always very stiff.
Yeah.
Because he's never really drawing anything in motion. He's drawing the people in poses. Beautiful musculature, looks very, very well airbrushed. Everyone's very oiled and shiny.
His
But
knees seem high.
yeah,
I mean, even forgiving the idea that those boots aren't actually knee pads. I don't have a sprite ahead of me to see, but there's that. There's like his arms are pretty far down on the shoulder.
yeah, he just seems off in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Although with that collar thing, he might be a good base for a Thundar the Barbarian uh, custom.
Hmm.
But yeah, I love the beautiful thing that Axe Battler does not, in fact, have an axe.
Yeah.
He I suppose he battles people, Death Adder who has one, but yeah, that barely works.
No, it's not. The Golden Axe I remember and love is there was like an arcade exclusive sequel, and you play and your choices were like generic barbarian, like some kid with a pitchfork. I think it was Gilius Thunderhead again, but he was riding on the back of a giant, and a centaur lady, and the centaur lady kicked ass because like she just had all these moves that were basically just kicking with hooves.
Yeah, I remember the Centaur was really good. Um, and I remember one other thing that was really funny about the Centaur character is that because there were parts in the game where uh, you'd have to hop up and grab like chains to pull them,
Mm-hmm.
and like everybody else could do it just fine, but the Centaur had the big horse butt, and so when she would jump up on the chains, her there would be a poof, and she'd magically have normal legs.
Yeah, that was for any time she needed to ride a beast or...
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was just for the beasts, because I played it recently.
Oh, I may be misremembering about the whole chain thing.
Yeah, the chains she just did normally.
Yeah.
But no,
But
anytime she had to ride a beast, she had to go to human legs, which was kind of funny.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that little bastard with the pitchfork. Um, but yeah, Golden Axe was a good side-scrolling beat 'em up, but it wasn't I don't think it even wound up cracking my top 10, which is hilarious given that's mainly because there were so many side-scrolling beat 'em ups at the time.
Oh yeah, and
But
none of them were particularly great.
I,
There's
I
a lot of mediocrity.
there were a couple that were really fantastic. The Dungeons and Dragons ones from Capcom that we'll never see again because of licensing.
Yeah, well, those are a few years down the road.
Yeah, those were a bit down the road, but that was sort of the formula perfected. Those were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I played those like crazy. There was Alien versus Predator from Capcom.
Also, never going to see again thanks to licensing. Oh, Alien vs. Predator, could almost be the pinnacle of that kind of game. Just
Yeah,
frantic, blow everything away.
Yeah, it was. Let's see. Most of the ones I really liked were Capcom ones, like Captain Commando.
Oh yeah,
which was really good. Really
they were at the
creative.
height of their game.
Knights of the Round. I enjoyed. I played the big dude from there. I think that was Percival.
Hmm.
He was my main on Knights of the Round.
I'm a little annoyed that we apparently never really got, or at least in any wide, this a Capcom brawler called Battle Circuit, because it's just fucking weird. It's Captain Commando kind of weird.
Yeah, there is that style of like old. There was this kind of like brand of 8 and 16-bit. I just want to say surrealism. That winds up getting like overlooked, and yeah, it's
because like at one point one of the bosses is like a evil sci-fi Elvis impersonator.
Yeah,
and then the next level you fight, I guess, some like a woman who was in love with him, and she's just this gigantus who's in charge of a laser cycle biker chick gang.
Yeah, hang on just a second. I gotta AFK for 1 second.
All right.
Keep entertaining people.
Oh fuck. No, we've been playing a lot of the old 8 and 16-bit era games to look at a bunch of the new to try and look for some more stuff for Pixelated Beast, and we got a good load of those. It's sorry, just checking the
And I'm back.
Okay, somebody is saying the D&D games are on Steam.
Huh. Wow.
Maybe
I will have to check that out.
Capcom reached an agreement there. But I mean, yeah, Alien vs. Predator is definitely not happening.
Yeah. But yeah, like there were a lot of games like Battle Circuit and Captain Commando and just a lot of the stuff on the 8-bit where it was all about was it fun to look at and was it fun to play, and a cohesive anything was just no, out the door.
Well, I think a lot of it also has to do with the technical limitations. You needed your sprites to be, particularly in the 8-bit, you needed some real visual punch to your sprites.
Right, they needed to be colorful and distinct and easy to pick out.
Yeah.
And so you wound up with a lot of like, but that meant that you had a lot of stuff that was just crazy, crazy, in a way that you don't often get anymore. Where it's like, it's sort of like the level of nuts that you would only really get now in like in kid entertainment from something like Gumball.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, yeah, we don't really do rules. We just do whatever is fun at the moment. But yeah, the stuff like Battle Circuit, that was cool. I really liked the old beat 'em ups. The other ones but Konami and Capcom were the kings of them.
Yeah.
Konami at the beginning with their Ninja Turtles and Simpsons games, and that was the other thing is like the beat 'em up was like the one area where you were not terribly in danger of a license being terrible. Because if you think about like the number of memorable beat 'em up licensed games, you had X-Men, which was very fun but just hilariously voiced. We also had it wasn't quite as good, but it was still pretty decent. And the best game they had for a long time, the Avengers side scroller.
Yeah.
And then you had the Dungeons and Dragons games. You had Alien vs. Predator. You had, like I said, the Simpsons and Ninja Turtles.
And the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. No, that was a side-scrolling shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
It was just on my mind. It was I mean, it was kind of the same thing, except it was a shooter. So it was, like Sunset Riders.
I really like Sunset Riders. Um, like when I was,
Remember that couple months when Cowboys of Moo Mesa existed?
I feel kind of sorry for Cowboys of Moo Mesa, in all honesty, because I know a little bit about the story behind it, and it's just like he was a friend of one of the Eastman and Laird guys. I think.
Yeah.
I think Laird.
Didn't he work on like the Archie comics for a while?
Yeah, I think he did. And it was them giving him a break and letting him kind of launch with his own thing, because they were really from what I understand, they were Eastman and Laird were really like leg up for people that they knew that were doing anthro stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know that they cameoed out the Turtles to virtually anybody who was also doing something along those lines.
Well, they've been the wind under Usagi Yojimbo's wings for a really long time.
Yeah, well, at least over here.
At least over here, but
no, I've seen some of the shitty ones that lasted a year or two, and they got themselves a genuine Ninja Turtles Eastman and Laird drawn cameo.
Yep. But yeah, they it's like it's just there's only so much you can do with cowboys in the Wild West that are actual cowboys.
And did we need to put it on real Earth, but then hide them from everything? Was that?
Yeah, if you're gonna do it in, if you're gonna do things I'm kind of
fake Wild West.
Yeah, I'm kind of past the whole like we have to hide our creatures from the world type thing.
Yeah.
Mainly because now it's just not feasible. There's no way you could have a caveat about a group of like monster creatures running around in a modern human city and people wouldn't find out about it really quick.
That is one thing I'm liking about the new Ninja Turtles. They only sort of pay lip service to that.
Yeah.
But apparently mutants are a fairly common sight now.
Yeah. Like they understand that they're there. The other thing is I think it's always much more interesting when you can explore the larger world interacting with these new things, and not just in a but what if they find out kind of way.
Yeah.
When it's public knowledge, that makes for a lot of fertile ground that you don't get in a lot of places. Like, imagine how boring the X-Men would be if normal people didn't know there were mutants.
Did we have a thing to watch, or are we just gonna?
I don't have anything prepared, which is gonna probably be the title of my autobiography at this rate.
Yeah.
I don't have anything prepared. Last minute scribblings of a disorganized mind. We could show the new. Show the new Deadly Games.
Yeah, that would work, because it's let's show the new Deadly Games for all these fine people if they haven't seen it yet.
And then we can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, we got things to talk about with Deadly Games.
Yeah. And let's see. Where did I put you? Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can't get this to work. Life is weird and amazing sometimes.
That Paul Steele kid, as I live and breathe. Which son of a gun, I'm doing all right.
The game is about Jackal and his quest to destroy life as we know it.
Are you telling me I'm in this living hell till the end?
Everyone in the game is based on someone I know.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, so you're saying all we got are bad guys?
I can't figure out if I want to warn all humanity or start a religion based on it.
Doesn't matter when I win, it's how I play the game.
You know, sometimes, kid, I wonder if you know why you programmed me.
Not a hoax, not a dream, not an imaginary story. Deadly Games is now available on DVD. No fooling! We've included a link to buy it in the description below. All 13 episodes, including the apparently never aired ex-girlfriend. No longer will these reviews rely on old VHS recordings off of UPN. And, as a short celebration, a super quick cut of some of my favorite bits from the prior 4 episodes in DVD quality.
My feeling is this Harry must be a very special friend. Let's take him hostage.
You sent your mother to Florida?
You know why you can't win, kid? Why you can't win? You sleep.
Kid, where's your manners? Next to be hitting men with glasses.
Kid. Let Kramer shoot the girl, kid. I mean, she's been nothing but trouble for both of us.
I heard that.
Warhead's loaded. Gave me a blister on my thumb.
I could get rid of it if you like. The thumb, that is.
Get your hands up, both of you.
You'd better straighten that tie, mister.
Daddy, can you wiggle and scream so the rabbit can see?
I told you to wear your raincoat, but no, you knew best.
Why? I take a hostage. I need a reason for the file.
He makes personal calls at the office.
Then he deserves what he gets.
So while I won't be sad to say goodbye to the crunchy VHS rips, I really do want to thank YouTube account Deadly Games Cool Show for uploading them, which is how I rediscovered this amazing series. And, well, sorry about the strikes your channel might end up with now. You have performed a valiant deed, and we salute you. And speaking of alerting, how'd we find out about the DVD? While some of our viewers did tell us, we actually knew about it well before we'd finished the last episode, as we'd gotten an email from one Mr. Paul Birnbaum. Yes, that Paul Birnbaum. And he's an amazingly good sport about this whole enterprise, given my general thesis that this series is so dumb it spun back around to brilliant, possibly on accident. Thanks to Paul, we've learned quite a few things about the show, some of which I'll save for the relevant episodes, but apparently getting Deadly Games to air was about as convoluted as one of Gus's game plots. Here we go! The show actually started out at ABC as what Paul calls a broken pilot, meaning that they liked the concept, but the script that came in wasn't up to snuff. Apparently, the original version of the show was not a tongue-in-cheek festival of goofiness, which is completely baffling to me. Someone wrote a version of this that was completely serious. Wow. Paul was brought in by Viacom to rework the show into something watchable, or at least sellable to the network. He introduced the idea that the game villains are all based on Gus's personal grudges with people in his past, that love interest the girl is actually his ex-wife, and that the ultimate bad guy, Sebastian Jackal, would be...
She's gone moxie, kid. I think I'll have her stopped.
That. Basically everything interesting that stands out about the concept. And yes, Paul confirms that he didn't really play video games, so he's kind of winging it. But we absolutely give him a mulligan on that one. Let's face it, TV and movies are historically terrible about depicting any video games past the Atari 2600 era. With Paul's new take on the concept, ABC ordered 6 scripts, and then somehow Leonard Nimoy came on board as a producer. And then, not much happened. Paul moved on to other projects, and during that time, ABC decided not to go forward with Deadly Games, and the series ultimately ended up in the hands of the fledgling UPN network. Maybe that was Nimoy's doing? It's hazy. The original plan for Deadly Games on UPN was a 2-hour movie, but then it changed to the network just straight up ordering a full 13-episode season. They didn't even ask for a proof-of-concept pilot episode first. Though, if I'm being honest, I think that says more about the UPN as a network than Deadly Games as a show. Paul found out about the switch to UPN and the sudden production while working on a Disney movie called Rent-A-Kid with Christopher Lloyd, which is just a strange scenario in general. And this is our segue into the mystery of the odd episode airing order. Turns out I was wrong about how mixed up the story order actually was. I was right about Dr. Kramer being pushed back and End of Jackal being pushed forward, but not how much End of Jackal actually moved. Because while UPN had ordered 13 episodes based on only 6 scripts, they initially only had enough money for 6 episodes worth of Christopher Lloyd. After all, this was his first series after completing the Back to the Future trilogy. And with those and movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit under his belt, his return to television meant some serious cash needed to be dropped. And since they only had their central villain during production for those first 6 scripts, End of Jackal was episode number 6. So they went forward with production as planned. They wrapped the semi-finale, but Paul and Lloyd got to talking. Lloyd wanted to keep going in the role, and that's not surprising. You can just tell when watching this that he's having an absolute blast playing Jackal. So they scraped up the money, rewrote the back end of the season to have him come back, and the rest is glorious scenery-devouring television history. So what's with Dr. Kramer being pushed so far back, since it was episode 3 and wasn't affected by the Christopher Lloyd budget? Turns out, then head of UPN, Mike Sullivan, decided to front-load the series with its strongest episodes, especially the first 4 to air. Continuity be damned. Deadly Games was part of UPN's first year, and he wanted the strongest showing possible. Paul couldn't fight it, and so Dr. Kramer was pushed into the back of the airing order, and the end of Jackal became episode 4, and the rest of the series was shoved forward and mixed around a bit to compensate and preserve what continuity they could. Fortunately, Dr. Kramer is really the only episode with any actual plot point continuity errors when viewed in UPN's airing order, while the original episode number 5, The Divorce Lawyer, only has some character regression on Gus's part when watched that way. Paul also shared some other production tidbits. Roles were written first and then cast, which surprised me, as the Trek actor and/or Shirley Jones plays against type aspect happens so often I assumed the roles were written for the actors to ham up specifically as a draw to get them on the series. And the reliance on Trek stars was indeed a bit of a push by UPN proper, which goes to show even they got some stuff gloriously right on occasion. Paul was also kind enough to share his favorite episodes, and for the most part they're the ones you would expect from the guest cast list. We've been through One Mean Mother and the Boss, and so we'll get to the others in time, but I wanted to bring up one surprise inclusion. Paul cites the season finale Ex-Girlfriend as his favorite episode of all of them. We'll go into some of the more interesting things about that episode when we get there. But as we've brought up before, as near as anyone can tell, it never aired. Even Paul never saw it on TV, and while he can't definitely say it didn't pop up on some random affiliate station in the middle of nowhere, he knows it never aired in Los Angeles. Think about that for a minute. Having what you feel is your best work on a project never make it out has got to sting a bit. But at least now, after over 20 years, it can finally be seen. As for his least favorite episodes, we'll get to them. Can't ruin all the surprises, or prepare you for all the pain. So, how does this affect the review series? Last episode I said Practical Joker was next, but that was when I was working from UPN's airing order and before I got the original intended episode order back from Paul. It's actually much further back than I thought it was, but I already feel bad about having teased LeVar Burton back in review number 2 and then making you wait so long for the next review only to push LeVar back another episode. It'd just be cruel to do that to you again with Brent Spiner in full ham mode. You all don't deserve that. But thankfully, there's not really anything in that episode that would affect story or continuity one way or the other. It's one of those episodes that can really go more or less anywhere in the story order. So next review, we're going ahead with Practical Joker, with the full acknowledgement that that's out of the intended order. And then we're picking up with the story order provided by Paul Birnbaum, including the mid-season defeat and return of Jackal, and thankfully all the way through the series finale, Ex-Girlfriend. And even then I won't be done, as I plan on having a look back on the whole series at the end of it. I'm in it for the long haul. Game on. And we're back.
This show.
Yeah, I had some fun doing the new opening and closing credits sequences for the show. Went through. I wound up working up the thing where Starch is inside the little flipping opening animation. That was tricky, and so I had to use that again, at least with Gus, by picking like the weeniest scenes of Gus to put in his opening.
It was a really good effect. That was a really good addition to the. No, I really like the new opening a lot.
Yeah. I think I think it serves actually as a pretty good commercial for the series, honestly.
Yeah.
Sums up the concept pretty well, gets you a little insight into the characters, and shows some
good cameos.
Shows some good cameos, and shows some just fun clips. Yeah. And it is, of course, no surprise that most of my favorite clips that I showed off in high def were all clips of Jackal.
Yeah.
Just being Jackal.
No, that's... this was a show with a lot of promise that hamstrung by a handful of things, I think, is just all.
Yeah, it's like, for everything that went miraculously and shockingly right about the show coming together, because by all means, the fact that it exists alone is sort of a minor miracle. But for every one of those, there was another thing that just did not seem to land quite right.
I feel like again, we give him a mulligan, but the fact that nobody on the script team really kind of understood video games itself in the end does kind of hurt it.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's
because I'll discuss this with you later once we're off stream. But the Practical Joker's got some script writing elements to it that make you think, wait, how it more so than normal makes you think, how is this part of a game?
Right, yeah. How does this
and
work?
I'll talk that with you later, because we don't want to spoil everything.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What else we got? There was some discussion in the channel about what Starch's species is, and it's, at this point, some
Rangoon.
kind of vague amphibian thing. Lizardy, salamandery type deal.
Like how Max is a rabbity type thing.
Mm-hmm. Blood Realm X, thank you. That is one of my theories. The idea that Gus is a much better AI designer than a game designer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just made this. He's made this like frightening roguelike that is completely unplayable. My other fan theory is that Gus has ADHD. His behavior fits very much the symptom spectrum, and my own experiences from that. But yeah, the whole thing is it has a lot of problems, but there's just enough charm there to keep me coming back.
Yeah, it's clear that the people who worked on it did in fact care.
Right.
There was clearly some effort put into it, and I mean it's got a lot of problems that are simply of its time as well.
Yeah, it came up in television's like awkward years. Like modern television's awkward years,
when the idea of inter episode continuity was still kind of taking its early steps, but also just some of the attitudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's still very old fashioned-y. I mean, it is important to remember that this is a show that is over 20 years old at this stage.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just it's part of that how it doesn't age as well, just because some of them attitudes are there, and you're just like, Gus really wouldn't fly like that without some major turnaround.
Right. Gus would have to either go much further in one direction or much further in another. He would either have to go like full-on entertaining house-style misanthrope, or he would have to go in a much more...
Well, he'd have to learn to not be that, basically.
Right. Which is something they could do in a modern show. I still think I still think it's a great premise for Kidvid, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Regress the characters back to like high school and make it some game that he'd been modding in the background that comes to life. And especially if you do it with like animation or even like Sentai-like effects, you can have the heroes maybe get some video gamey stuff to keep things exciting.
But the only thing I will say that needs to be done, if there was ever a reboot, we need to use that Captain N style pixelation effect when something gets deleted.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a must. It needs to be the full-on pixel scramble whenever something gets deleted or blasted or warped or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... God, that's the thing. Like, didn't they have to, like, on Captain N, didn't they have to, like, manually animate that?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Which is why they didn't do it so often. Only certain studios pulled that shit off.
Right. I remember it was a nice effect. Although I think I had one of the things that worked against Captain and was one of the things that worked against me enjoying it as a kid, because I liked the general concept, but I knew everybody was off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like these aren't these aren't the cool versions of these guys that I've been playing. These are some weirdos that are like them.
That's also neck deep in the hide the Japanese design origin era of video games, which actually is something that's coming up in the next Pixelated Beast. We touch on that briefly.
Yeah. But some stuff was just bad. Like, why was Mega Man green?
Actually, there was an answer for that.
Oh, really? What was that?
Apparently, that had to do with the character designer. They just got copies of the games. They didn't get a lot of material. So basically, he just had the game to work with. And the crappy monitor that he had ended up more green tinting a lot of the blue.
Oh, I see. Wow.
So yeah, apparently from what little I've read, apparently DIC's production people really did not get much of anything for a lot of the.
Yeah, that's sort of like what happened on the Star Trek animated series, where the color designer was colorblind.
Yeah.
And so everything that was supposed to be gray turned out to be pink, and which is fine. I mean, it's great that you.
That's also why Adam's outfit apparently is pink and lavender. And also, Filmation was one of the most gay-friendly studios ever, and they weren't about to change that anyway. So
right. Well, it just seemed funny that when it came to the Star Trek thing, that they didn't have somebody sitting around to go, the Warbird should be green. But
yeah, apparently they didn't even really get character art. They basically just got a copy of the game and said go nuts. So they had to do a lot of extrapolation, and that's kind of how we got where we are on a lot of these sprites. And I admit, I do like. I mean, they're weird. Some of them are weird, but especially for the Robot Masters, I do like some of the reinterpretations.
Yeah. It's obvious that they didn't get manuals with them, because there was one of the things is they had the characters from Castlevania 3 show up at one point, and the wizard the magic user Sophia is an old male wizard.
I think there's a lot to that too. Yeah, I think there's a lot of other. Didn't the U.S. version kind of try to hide that?
That Sophia was female?
Yeah.
Not that I can recall.
I seem to remember that, or at least it was kept nice and vague.
Because I knew that she was a she when I was playing it as a kid, but let's see. It's one thing I love about PDFs. I can always pull up the manual. Let's see.
Just to kind of, I am disturbed that we haven't seen. I mean, maybe I've missed it, but we haven't seen much of anything from Mega Man 11 merchandise.
Oh, actually, they did call Sypha he in the manual.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it's very obviously not supposed to be.
And at that point, and at that time, the game sprites were ambiguous enough anyway that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that is kind of off is that in the game sprites, he obviously isn't like a hunched wizard with a pointy hat, but
yeah,
they do what they got to do. Oh my god, and I forgot that Grant's last name was Dynasty. But yeah.
Oh god, no! I'm just reminded. I follow a couple of the Video Game Art Archive. I think that's what it's called on Tumblr. It's obscure. The Video Game Art Archive, obscure video games. I'm not sure which one it is, but recently they posted something from the Contra manual. And apparently one of the... Okay, no, it is Video Game Art Archive on Tumblr. And apparently one of the heroes of the one of your two, you've got Mad Dog and Scorpion are your two heroes of Contra. And Scorpion's real name is Corporal Lance.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Dog's real name is Sergeant Bill Coe. And I just had to kind of put my head down and groan quietly when I read that.
I just looked at it and went, nice.
I put my head down and groaned quietly because that is exactly the kind of lame joke I would do if given the chance to do something like that. And now I can't.
Yeah, it's sort of like me in the Bizarrians. It's like, God,
Yeah.
I wish I'd come up with that.
Which kind of does make me wonder why they didn't go with something similar for Corporal Lance, but maybe they thought they couldn't get away with it if there were two of them. Somebody might notice.
I think there's some kind of joke with that. I just can't place it.
Yeah. Lance Corporal, isn't that an actual... wait a second, is Lance Corporal an actual...
Yes, it's a term for an enlisted person in the U.S. Marine Corps.
Ah. Okay, I guess that's the joke. It's not as good, though.
Well, it's... yeah. But...
Now, I need to figure out some way to see Mega Man fully charged. I've watched some of the clips, but Cartoon Network's website's got that thing where, yeah, we've got them all online now. Just sign in with your internet sign in with your cable provider. What? No, why would I? What? No. What?
Cable? What is this? The 18th century?
So I've just watched a handful of clips, and it looks all right for, young kid vid. I do like that they're adding Robot Masters to the cast, so I am completely okay with that.
Yeah.
More new Robot Masters. And if they got toys, that would be nice. I'm telling, why is everybody dropping the ball and giving us toys of robots? Why?
Well, going back to the whole problem with like the toys of the Mega Man toys, where they always go back to the first game's characters, and because they always go back to the first game characters, it's all stuff people have already gotten in some form or another. Everyone's already tired of it.
Yeah.
I will say I am impressed that we didn't quite get that with the first wave of Walmart G1 reissues for Transformers. Because their first wave releases are Devastator, which I don't think there's been a U.S. release of the Devastator Repro.
Don't think so.
Hot Rod, Starscream. Starscream's a pretty obvious one, but you'll notice there's no
Hot Rod's a pretty obvious one too.
Yeah, but they tend to hold him back from not like Wave 1 though. He's not like a Wave 1 choice. But then your mini-bots are Bumblebee, Tailgate, Outback, and what's the other one?
I think it's just isn't it just the three?
No, it's the there was the other one that was the Gears Redeco. I can't remember his name. Swerve, yeah. And so they're going with obviously they're doing the pre-mold thing where we're going to get the first wave characters later on, I'm sure.
I don't know. I think it's just that those were the molds most recently available because they were part of a Japanese box set.
Well, that works too. But at least it works to the advantage that I haven't gotten a Swerve as a keychain yet.
Yeah.
I don't have like 6 Swerve keychains like I have some of the other characters.
Well, I think it does also help that they're still riding on the more than meets the eye, Lost Light, Tailgate, Swerve.
And
Bumblebee's always going to be popular. That's just... But there's not been a release of that mold with that faceplate before, so hey.
Yeah. And...
yeah, this is just us rambling, by the way. This is largely what these live streams devolve into.
Yeah, well, plans are for fools.
Artista Frustrado, yeah, there are, let's see, we've got Blasto Woman, who is like a giant jet-powered tank, basically. She's huge. Hypno Woman, we've got Chemistry Man, and I want to say that there's somebody else completely new, but I'm blanking on it at the moment. And they're heavily redesigned. There's like some of the characters are fairly faithful if beefed up. Like Fireman is very recognizably Fireman, but he's also severely beefed. But then some are, like Airman is completely redesigned, and I like the redesign. I could easily see him as a different wind-based, Like I said, it seems all right. And I gotta admit, I don't mind that Wily is not the bad guy this time around. Sometimes one of my biggest frustrations with the classic Mega Man is how it's always Wily. It's always Wily. It's always Wily. And every time they say, "Oh, it's not Wily," it's Wily.
Yeah,
give Wily a little bit of a break, please.
Well, you see, that's one of the things that keeps Mega Man from being sort of a full-fledged superhero. He's only really got one big bad, and it's always Wily.
Well, they keep introducing potential big bads that would really work, but yeah.
But yeah,
King would make a great, third-party antagonist to both of them, but no, it's Wily again. Wily was behind him.
Yeah, that's
part of also why I really love the Archie comics. They introduced new stuff like anti-robot revolutionaries and new robot masters and all that, and some cops who were like partially, they were partial help, partial antagonists, so they weren't, it would be easy to make one be the Harvey Bullock, just bad cop shit heel, but nope, he was a hard ass, but he had his reasons and they made sense and he was sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really sad when they had to cancel that book.
Yeah. I get the need to eventually wind down the current IDW Transformers universe. Mm-hmm. But boy, is it going to be hard for them to get back to where they are now.
Yeah. Thoughts on Mattel opening a film studio? Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Mattel has some okay IP. And it's got some important brands, but
I kind of feel like that might just be them wanting to pull some of what they do have out there in the world of entertainment a little closer under there, like getting Barbie a little. I feel like if anything, most of what we're going to see is just kind of getting Barbie a little out of the shitty direct-to-video market, maybe.
I think part of it may also be wanting to have their own studio so that their stuff doesn't languish in development hell forever. So they can have a more direct hand in pushing things forward. Because they've been trying to get a freaking Masters of the Universe movie made since 2000.
That.
Yeah, and at least since 2000. And they keep signing, things keep getting signed, but nobody ever goes forward with it. If they have their own studio, if they're working with other studios, they at least will have a staff of people that can keep pushing for the projects to happen.
Mm. And then it can go on to bomb in theaters.
Right, and then they can go on to,
produce their version of Battleship.
Right. But they have the right to do that, and even money that is spent on bad movies that fail winds up going back into the economy. So, those carpenters and actors and set riggers and caterers and all that, they need work too.
There are jobs are being produced, and there's that.
That's one thing that you can think of as the upside is if you have a $300 million movie that utterly bombs, that means $300 million left the hands of some very rich people. Went into the hands of some other rich people, but a whole lot more working class people, and didn't come back to them.
Yeah,
so on the one hand,
like I said, that is the one thing, and I will keep going back to this. That is the one thing that is one thing Michael Bay said that I will pay mad respect to, like when the writing strike. And Revenge of the Fallen was such a turd because of it. And he's like, yeah, well, what was I going to do? Fire 500 people all of a sudden and just have them suddenly be adrift? I'm like, okay. You know what? I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
Yeah, no, it works
You make
great.
bad movies, you have questionable tastes, but I'm not gonna fault you for wanting to make sure that, all the workmen and women and everybody behind making these movies actually, can eat dinner.
Yep. Well, Daily Show and Colbert both sucked eggs during the writer's strike, but they kept the shows going so they wouldn't have to fire their people. I can respect that. They were unwatchable, but
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. The interviews were informative, but it's not nearly the sort of comedic experience we were expecting at the time. That was back when there was a different kind of political comedy other than gallows humor. Um,
I remember those days so long ago.
Yep. Yep. It's just as another little fun ramble. I have been replaying Fallout New Vegas because it's a game that I can dump a ton of mods on it and be different every time I play it. And sometimes you just feel like wandering off into a desert and shooting some cosplaying fascists in the head. Caesar's Legion. But one of the things that I picked is I have this big radio pack that's a bunch of old radio serials that I can listen to while I'm playing, and some of them are the quality varies. But
you got your genuine entertainment.
Yeah, you got your genuine entertainment, and then you got some that are just like, yeah, you were just filling a late night slot on the radio.
And then you've got your ones that are interesting because of where they are in the culture.
Mm-hmm. One of the ones that, and I need to track down the actual episode for it, but there's a one that I've been listening to, which is Commander Corey of Space Patrol, often just called Space Patrol. And this was the Captain Video's West Coast rival, basically. Captain Video being a thing that was a major cultural touchstone that no one knows about now. Has no fandom. Because
everybody knows it exists, and that's about it.
That's because they estimate that there were over 2,500 episodes of Captain Video, and 20 of them survive. Of those 20, only 4 of them are commonly available to the public. The others you have to go to a library and make reservations to see them because they're in a historical preservation. And this was a show that was so huge that, one, it went for 2,500 episodes because it was a live performance 5 days a week, and then after the first couple of years, 6 days a week. There were references to it in the 7-Year Itch and the Honeymooners. Ralph Cramden was a fan of the show and wore one of the merch helmet, the kid helmets in an episode apparently. So this is something that was like Star Wars big at the time. But because no one archived anything, and because the only way that they could preserve televisions at the time is they would literally film a screen. They would have a 16 millimeter film camera running at one of the monitors to save it. That's why the film quality on those really early shows is so low. And so it wound up just vanishing. And alternatively, there were only 175 episodes of Space Patrol made, but only 5 episodes of Space Patrol are gone now.
Are gone or exist?
Or are gone. No, they've still got 170 of them. Most of Space Patrol still survived. And the reason I brought this up is that there's this you kind of pick up on things that are that get introduced into the zeitgeist and ideas. And in one of the episodes, I need to track down the exact name of the episode because I was listening on a radio in Fallout, and it's a little harder to track down what you were listening to at the moment when there's no track listing. But there's an episode where the Space Patrol is going up against a group of alien invaders, and their ship gets in the range of their doomsday weapon, the Null Ray. And the Null Ray just shuts down all the electronics on your ship, which is just the exact name and function of Starscream's gun from G1. It's called the null ray, and it eliminates electrical activity. It nullifies it. And I don't know if that is something that was an intentional homage, if it was something that was a coincidence, if it was something that, like, Bob Budiansky had experienced as a child and just kind of half remembered, and it popped up that way. But it's just this fun coincidence that there's the null ray in Space Patrol in the 1950s, and then in the 1980s, which, as we all know, the creators from the 1980s grew up in the 1950s. That's why all the villains are greasers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's that 1950s retro thing that was going on in the 80s. So you don't know if that was an intentional reference or if it's just sort of one of those things that seeped into somebody's brain. But yeah, like the old radio programs are just fascinating, partially because some of them are really entertaining and good, and some of them are just crazy dumb. Like I'm kind of fond of this one called The Avenger, which is sort of a knockoff Spirit or Phantom type thing. And it's about this scientist who's decided that he's going to use his special inventions to fight the criminal underworld, rather than patenting them and becoming insanely wealthy.
Yeah,
because
as you do,
because and his catchphrase is something like, "The path of crime ends in a trap that justice sets. Crime does not pay." And his technology that he has that is just amazing, because he has, like, one is really simple, which is he has an invisibility thing. He's got, like, a light that he casts on him that makes him invisible, which is a useful power when you're scaring the crap out of criminals by pretending to be a supernatural Hudson. The other thing that he has is he's got himself a telepathic radio. And the way that the telepathic radio works is never well explained, but basically, if somebody's about to die, sometimes they get a signal on the telepathic radio, and it gives them some cryptic noise or, like, traces of their thoughts or bits of sensory information, like a sound from the area that they're in, and it tells it, and then they use that to track down where the crime is and try and piece together the clues to stop the people. And it's just like, it is never for a moment questioned. Never for a moment is the ethics of using such a device ever questioned.
Oh, of course not.
Not to mention that this is the type of thing. It's like, even if there was not a major issue with the idea of randomly scanning people's minds to see if there's going to be crime. Which is, you twist that just 1 degree over and you got yourself a dystopian sci-fi novel. I mean, it's basically the plot of Minority Report. But the the other part of it is he has these gadgets and he's fighting crime, and in his civilian identity, he works with the police. Because he's one of them duly deputized types, he's not a vigilante, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So why not just give the police these technologies that you're using, so that you can have 100 Avengers, rather than just the one dude driving around in his car with his very clearly a girlfriend? Which I didn't think they did at the time. She doesn't have the same last name. She's his partner. He treats her very much like, there's a bit of, like, it's obviously the 1950s, so there's a little bit of, ha, you girl. But it's, comparatively, he's actually, he listens to her advice, and, she's a member of the team and so forth.
Yeah.
She's not a sidekick. She's like a partner in the crime investigations. And he just makes fun of it when she's like claiming that she graduated 3 years ago when she graduated 2 years ago and things like that. But, like, they call each other dear and stuff, which I didn't think you did in those things if in the 50s, if characters weren't married. Like, they're very obviously like in a relationship. They're just not married yet. But it's in that way that you're like, wait a minute, this is the 50s. Shouldn't this be scandalous in some way? I mean, I'm a little bit more surprised in the 1950s at the idea of this dude trucking around being all cozy with this girl week after week happened more than
Then
the
with him
idea.
coming up with the brain scan.
Yeah,
Ray.
like in the 50s nobody would care about the brain scan, but the idea that you would be bringing your lady along to dangerous places and that you're letting her talk, you're talking to her in such familiar terms before you put a ring on it. My God. Now but that 1950s like sort of baseline chauvinism is really present in the characters from the horror stories.
Yeah.
I think in large part it's supposed to sort of make it so you don't feel quite so bad about them getting killed by a monster. It's that whole thing. It's like like the husbands in haunted houses movies that are always like disbelieving jerks.
Yeah.
It's so you don't feel a great swell of pity for them when stuff happens.
That's kind of the foundation of a lot of horror movies and slasher flicks. And
well, that's the thing is like if you have horror movies where people behave rationally, you don't have horror movies.
Well, what I was going to say is that we've actually got a script. It's kind of been sitting around for a couple of years, and it's going to severely change format. But those old serials are going to play into another script we're looking at. Mm-hmm. We're kind of looking at doing a kind of pseudo actual factual video essay, not merely a review.
Right. Getting into the nature of advertainment.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, a very
near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah. I mean, I've been quoted before as saying I grew up in the 80s. If I watch a movie and I don't feel like I'm being sold to, I think they don't care.
If you're not trying to sell me on an action figure, am I really gonna?
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute. Do you not have confidence in this? Why is there no merch? What do you mean it's an art film?
Well, that's something that's coming up. We gotta play around with that, but that'll be coming in the future. We hope.
That takes like effort and research and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've given the nice people a bit of rambly nonsense to think about.
Yeah, for what is kind of a bit of a dead time.
Yeah.
News-wise, that isn't apocalyptic.
Yeah, I try to maintain to the geek news just because it's less depressing.
Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, so we should have at least one more video out this month.
Yep. And anyway, thank you everyone for showing up. We will.
I think the girls want me to go to the Mexican place down the block and pick up large piles of meat.
That sounds like a plan. We'll be keeping everybody informed on the Twitter and so forth about the upcoming videos and other things. All right.
Thank you all for popping in.
Thank you. And hold on just a moment. Where did that go?